It's just a long lost look in your eyes, brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Oh, don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, into the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, to the light we go. It's just a long lost look in your eyes, brings out a love that I can't disguise. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go.
We're back, guys. I know it felt like an eternity, but finally we have made it back. We ate some chicken, or at least I did, Papa. And we're about to get into BBQ versus Afreeca. It's going to be a good matchup here. BBQ needs to win this if they want to have a good chance to make it out of relegations. Afreeca wants to win it to make sure they secure second place.
Yeah, for Afreeca, if they win, they are guaranteed second. They skip a best of 5, they skip a best of 3. They are their highest finish ever in the history of the LCK. And against BBQ Olivers, they come in big favorites.
Yes, they do. It's definitely Afreeca. We've seen them from time to time. You know, they don't like to win game 2s. They love their game 1 and 3s. And that might open up a chance for BBQ to come in and take a win. But let's introduce those teams. I'm sure you know one of them already.
1승을 기다리고 있는 팀. 강등권을 피하기 위해선 오늘 반드시 승리해야만 하는데요. 킹존을 잡아냈던 그들의 기상이 오늘 다시 살아날 수 있을지 지켜보시죠. BBQ Olivers!
Yeah, the BBQ Olivers coming in here, not in the best position right now at 9th place. But they get chicken every day. At least that must feel pretty good. They've got some new signs in front of them. We don't get to see them yet, but there can be no more defeats. Definitely the case here. They need to win at least this one to make sure they can make it out into 8th place.
That's right, it's all about one match victory. Given strength of schedule, that should be enough for BBQ. Today is difficult, but they do face Kongnu Monster in their last game of the season. You give them a big advantage there, and MVP's game score will count against them after their very lean start to the season. So even with MVP's rise, if you're a betting man, you're betting on MVP to be in that second relegation spot. And BBQ might even confirm that today.
Yeah, looking to do their best here. Obviously a very hard opponent ahead of them in Afreeca, who have been looking even better as time goes on with the same roster. Tons of guys just popping off. Kuro extremely relevant and good nowadays, as well as Tushin. But Tempt, we should talk about BBQ's been looking good as well. A couple of missteps here and there, but beginning to show how good of a mid laner he truly is.
Unfortunately, too late for any sort of playoff hopes in the spring season. It's a new lineup. Maybe they'll get it together for summer. It's been lean for BBQ in spring.
So let's introduce their opponents.
비록 결승 직행은 놓쳤지만 절대 2위만큼은 놓치고 싶지 않은 팀. Afreeca Freecs!
Yep, the Afreeca Freecs here looking to do their best. And up against BBQ, For me, it's about proving you can win 2 in a row without letting up and getting overconfident. Seems like both Afreeca and KT have problems with that from time to time.
Absolutely. You'll notice in the jungle position, they are going to be starting Mowgli. It's been a recent strategy for them. Spirit started in our last series. Now it's going to be Mowgli today. Just raising that question mark. Now they no longer will be aiming in the AD carry role. The big flex is Spirit and Mowgli swapping their positions, and honestly for Afreeca, everything's come together. Keen has been an apt and even more impressive replacement for Marin than we could have ever expected. Comet and Zephyr joining the coaching staff has really made their drafts a thing of beauty. Some great games, some great drafts here for Afreeca. Everything firing at the same time and guaranteeing themselves top 4 with a victory will be such a big thing for Afreeca, who previously have always gone to the wild card and always lost.
Yeah, they want to escape that rank 5 place. Even Keen saying, yes, please get me into second. And guys, it is Kuro's 5th year anniversary here in League of Legends. We'll see a lot of signs in the audience celebrating that fact.
And of course, Kuro's got his own battle for the MVP this season as one of the joint leaders. Started 5 years ago on Incredible Miracle 2. His then Rock's teammate was on Incredible Miracle 1, that was Smeb, of course, went on to join Najin Black Sword and Ku Tigers, and you guys remember the rest for Kuro from there. Speaking of history, BBQ Olivers, they need a victory soon. They've got 2 matches this week. Afreeca, a very tough ask, but Kongdu Monster could be their salvation away from the relegation spots.
That really close match up against SKT was really what gave them the chance to make it out of relegations. If they didn't get that one and they lost 5 in a row, and then they're looking down the barrel of an Afreeca game, definitely wouldn't have felt good. But let's take a look at Afreeca and some of their stats. This is what they have done so far.
Some of the stats here are very interesting. You have to think about them. Average kills, middle of the table. Average deaths, 9th. So they are very much playing the clean League of Legends. As some of our other teams like KT, who are up the top, have been struggling. DPM is 9th as well, which suggests that they have been able to play very compressed games. It hasn't been about poke. It hasn't been drawn out. It's interesting to see the numbers. The numbers aren't leaping off the page. They're just generally showing that they're a fairly clean team.
Yeah, I think the average deaths might mean that they have higher deaths than a lot of people, and that's why they're at 9th. Would like to get confirmation about that, if possible, because 6.7 certainly seems pretty hard. Or pretty high, rather, I should say.
To me, it seems low, because 6.7 deaths a game is super low. So I believe they're saying they're one of the best at avoiding deaths, but, sometimes stats are misleading like that. We'll look at some more stats. The top laners with stability. Crazy and Keen are reliable. I'd say that Keen has shown his carry chops a lot more, and recently has been on a tear, but Crazy's Camille is one that on patch 8.5 will probably still be drawing bans or respect, as he's one of our better Camille players in the league.
And the stats won't reflect it, being misleading in the fact that he's 2 and 4, but certainly some recent games he has been popping off, so would be a safe ban to go up against him. Keen definitely can do well on the Camille as well. He's 3-0, so certainly very comfortable with his carries in the top lane, but let's take a look at the mid lane.
And you know what? BBQ Olivers have really been about Thames. He's had to be the big carry for BBQ Olivers. He's the player who at the start of the season I said was the most underappreciated player. The rising star of the league would be Thames. And has he shown that? I wouldn't say necessarily he's lived up to my expectation. His team has gone through a lot of different iterations. He showed a lot of struggle synergizing with Trick at the start of the season. They went through a period with Bono. I think Tempt is still one of our rising mid laners. He deserves a lot of respect, but so far, he hasn't been able to be the hard carry reliably enough. Meanwhile, Kuro has been popping off on the LeBlanc. He's been popping off on other champions. We talked to his teammate Mowgli last week, and when asked who would be the overall season MVP between him and Tucson, because they are both now joint at 900 points, he voted for Kuro on the day. And you know that Kuro is plotting some big picks to guarantee that first place spot.
Surely he is, but guys, the pick and ban is ready, so let's jump straight into it for game number 1. Okay, so let's jump into the pick and ban here. Gonna start off with the Rise, take that away from Kuro, and we haven't seen Varus in a while on the Rift, gets banned all the time.
It is a flex ban also with the Rise because we have our resident top lane Rise in Keen on the side of Afreeca. Smart ban there, as we do find a Tempt fan in the audience. It's actually Tempt's father looking for the father buff. We've had a lot of those things before. Good luck to Tempt there from his dad.
Lots of daddies coming down to the studio recently here at Spo TV.
But not a lot of Swains jumping around in the Rift, sadly. Valdez, his Swain's going to be banned on the blue side. This flex pick Swain on the red side is something teams don't want to deal with. We mentioned the Olaf buffs. We already had Olaf at first pick, first ban in Korea, so he sees a buff, and sadly, the Viking is now waved away. No sightings of the Viking expected to happen too often on patch 8.5.
Weighing their options here on the third ban is Afreeca. They're going to take away Skarner from Trick. I think that's definitely a pretty good idea.
You wonder how high priority the Zac will be for BBQ. It's an old pick. 80 carries. Well, Varus is gone, so they're going to be happy with Xayah Rakan, or at least to start the Xayah Rakan. BBQ, one of the few teams that has played just Rakan at times. But Afreeca Freecs are 6-0 on Rakan, and Tucson is one of our best Rakans. So do they try to just pick the Rakan as a power pick, or are they happy to give it over to BBQ?
This guy coming in from the army is cheering on Kuro's 5-year anniversary since debut. Came all the way up from Busan. Cheer on his buddy.
Well, he's going to be able to watch with front row seats in a couple of weeks. The grand final of the LCK will be in Busan. We mentioned the Zac takeaway. BBQ didn't first pick it, so Zac is going to be taked away. We got some sample size things going on with Mowgli, but right now you can see his numbers looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's 2-0 on the pick, so.
And I love this one.
There it is.
They take away the Rakan as a power pick because Tucson has been the best Rakan in the league. He's 6-0 on the season on Rakan between two different players. So a takeaway Rakan. First picking Xayah does not always mean first round getting the Xayah Rakan.
Especially up against these guys. So Afreeca, you mentioned their very clean drafting. We're getting a look at it here once again. They know what they're doing. A couple of huge power picks for their lineup, and doesn't mean that BBQ can have a bit of a pick up the litter, right? The Gangplank is still available. The Galio, they flashed it for a moment. Do they want to put Tempt on that pick here? He's 2-3 on it so far. Not the most solid win rate we've seen on the Galio, but still an option.
Problem is, if you see Galio here, you expect it just to be the Corki from Kuro, and he's one of our best Corki players. So with Galio priority going down, we did see it banned a lot in our first series, but will not be a first round ban in this particular one. And very early Thresh, as they were expecting some support bans to relieve pressure. Remember that Thresh has the Flay, which is a great interrupt on the Elastic Slingshot and can stuff the engage on the Zac very well. So I liked the pick, even though it hasn't been as massive a pick for Ignar this season. And we see Camille open, and Camille gladly accepted by the Afreeca Freecs. The Camille is still super powered, and when you see Zac and Camille, and the Rakan even, do you just have to ban Galio if you're BBQ? As Afreeca are threatening one of the biggest bouncy castles we've seen in a long while.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, right? You can ban out the Galio. Another pick we've been seeing work a lot with the Camille is the Ziggs, where you just Hextech Ultimatum, and then a gigantic bomb appears in the face of especially one member, but usually more with all the other engage you have on your side. So certainly some things to think about for BBQ's second banning phase.
Waiting for BBQ to do the math and consider the Galio ban. It's going to be an Anivia ban. So even though they don't actually have any true tanks in their first 3 picks, they don't want to deal with Kuro's Anivia. There's already 2-0 on the season.
He looks disappointed. I'd like to think he looks disappointing about that ban specifically.
And we know very well from all the interviews Kuro's had this season that he's one of the few Korean players who's like, no, I'm going to be the MVP. I am the best.
Yeah.
He's very much boastful rather than the usual more passive side that Koreans take in interviews. So we know he's looking for an MVP performance in this game. He would prefer not to play Galio, and I'm sure he's PogChamping at the Galio being banned away. Galio was looking like the big pick there.
Yeah. Well, looks like they're going to wait and try to counterpick for the mid lane, as Ezreal's still available, can work well with the engage of Rakan, and so Kramer will pick up that.
Gonna go for a very Katie-esque Ezreal pick here, so looking for The bridging early pick is we asked about Nunu, and now remember Nocturne received some pretty big buffs on patch 8.5. A good solo queue pick. Looking for something to jump into the jungle.
Oh, it's so annoying to deal with on solo queue. Just people don't know how to deal, especially with the extra seconds on the ultimate darkness. But Azir, just a bunch of flashy jungle picks. They love to troll this BBQ team, and so would expect some normalcy from them.
Waiting for a jungle pick here on the side of BBQ. None of these champions can go in the jungle, so they need somebody. Will it actually be the Nocturne? Be fun to see, but for now at least leaving their options open. You'd imagine a tank jungler, but there's already been quite a few banned away. They're firming on one. It's going to be one smack bang in the middle, but one that has drawn a lot of ironic jeers in the LCK. It is going to be the Jax. Champion that can skirmish very well early, but can also have games be snowballed away very easily. Action onto Afreeca, looking for a mid laner into the Azir. But we see Kuro jumping onto the Syndra to try to get some lane control on the Azir. The Taliyah, to me, is more likely, because while it may not be the Galio, it has globals. And look at this, he's actually going to show us something new and jump on the Vel'Koz to go into the Azir matchup. A crown favorite, a legacy counter pick to the Azir. It's going to be a backline threat, and given how much frontline they have and how much dive, this is the sort of game where Vel'Koz should probably be pretty safe in the back.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, not everybody, but lots of different members in the mid lane from multiple different teams. Even UCal giving a shot at Vel'Koz. Played it once, it didn't go well, but this is going to be Kuro's debut on the season. We'll see how he will do on this champion that is slowly gaining popularity.
Very interesting comp from BBQ. It's not fully in teamfight, has kind of a lot of options. He probably doesn't want to engage in teamfight when you see Zach, Camille, Rakan on the enemy side, and we do that the Star-Crossed Lovers, as Xayah and Rakan have been separated. Afreeca all about the 2-item power spike, and then 9 points, so level 9, so 5 points in Elastic Slingshot, and then I think the Wombo engage is stopped for them, and Kuro will be largely untouched in the backline, outside of maybe having to tank the Gangplank ultimate. So honestly, the biggest unknown wildcard factor is the Jax, which has been up and down, largely down in the LCK. Some good pick options if they can get Ignar out of lane early, but doing that against Kramer and Tucson is going to be tricky for the side of BBQ to pull off.
Surely, we've seen this many times before where the better team picks a more aggressive, less amount of scaling composition, and they kind of run away with the game and it turns into a faster one. So we'll see if BBQ can put on the brakes onto this Afreeca train that has been running very, very fast recently. And it looks like the game is ready, guys, so we're going to jump straight into that. The countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 1 of Afreeca versus BBQ. Here we go, match 82. Game number 1. Ghost spots out the level fun shenanigans. And looks like nothing should happen, just a ward early on down there.
Kramer does not manage to pillage anything from the first queue. Usually want to queue around this point if you're the Ezreal to get the mana flow ban to be available again when the laning phase is more underway. Entering lane with the mana flow ban doesn't really give you any value. So a little thing you can do in solo queue when you get to press a button before the minions crash. It gets a second hit as well. Still no items pilfered though.
Never lucky, man. He's probably played a couple games of Hearthstone in his time, but this time he's playing the Ezreal, not finding that luck. Smokely going to start over here at the blue.
Actually, something we haven't seen in a long time is both bot lanes giving a leash. Usually one lane takes the opportunity to walk up and pick up the fast level 2 from that. We have the Star-Crossed Lovers here as well, as we have Tucson on the Rakan taken as a power pick. He is probably the best Rakan we have in Korea. With Ghost first picking the Xayah. We'll see this more and more commonly. Previously, they were always picked together, but teams on this patch, with the priority on champions like Galio taken down, are trying to get Xayah Rakan at first pick, and against some teams, it'll work, and against teams like Afreeca Freecs, it will not.
Deucin definitely a guy in the bottom lane in the support role specifically that he takes every meta pick and he plays it to the highest level. And at this point, as I say that, Caster Curse comes in. He's running into level 2 Thresh, so not going to have his highlight moment there, but certainly a guy that can make people want to play support and actually notice why support is so important, especially in competitive. It just reminds you of other top-level supports, you know, Mata, Gorilla even.
Madlife famously in Korea
Yeah.
was the player who inspired a whole generation of players globally and especially in Korea to pick up the support right at the back at the start of League of Legends when support was, I would say, very, very undervalued compared to now. There was much less gold. It was seen as a much less fulfilling role than Madlife on Alistair and Blitzcrank. The Thresh a little bit later made everyone a believer of support. Right now, as we mentioned, there's a lot of races going on. The race for the top 3 spots, the race for relegation. But remember, we do have joint MVP leaders in this game on the side of Afreeca Freecs, Kuro and Tucson, both at 900 points. And then BDD and Peanut from Kingzone Dragon X at 800 points. So it's really all about the MVP there between those players. And Tucson and Kuro could very easily be stealing votes from each other.
We've seen games where Tucson gets the MVP on the Rakan, but this is Kuro's first game on the Vel'Koz. We'll see if he can actually pop off on the pick and steal away that MVP.
Should mention that we are on patch 8.5 with the hotfix enabled, so you'll notice that Crazy is not taking the Ancient Coin, which was the common choice on 8.4, or previously before the mana nerfs, it was of course the Relic Shield that was the common choice on the Gangplank. Now you no longer have the Bandit procs. That was what hotfixed away. So now you have to go for mana generation somewhere. It's going to be from the Corrupting Potion. So a little bit less gold generation. But the Gangplank means less random 2,000 gold leads.
Oh, he gets the hook here on a Tucson. Perfect Lantern, but able to hop away is Tucson. Doesn't even burn a summoner in the trade. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Keen, this is what we've come to know from his Camille. Quietly hitting 3-0 in terms of his win rates and having a fun lane against Crazy so far.
And while we were really excited about Tucson taking away the Xayah Rakan and getting the Rakan as a power pick, you cannot forget that the story that was there from the release of Xayah Rakan was Xayah seems good, Rakan's laning phase is not great. Without the Xayah, his laning phase is a bit of a problem. So very much this power pick's going to be online post-6, and in the teamfight phase, for the laning phase, we expect the Xayah Thresh to have a lot more presence than the Ezreal Rakan.
Keen purposely freezing the lane here. Looked a little bit suspicious. Crazy immediately puts down a ward, but still could be in trouble as the stun is going to land. And actually going for a short hop here. Still has his flash. Doesn't want to use it. Getting extremely low. Waits until the last moment, but finally Afreeca get the flash.
He had already used his teleport. Really didn't want to flash, as you mentioned, but loses his control ward and the summoner. That's really horrible. But Crazy, who has to recall as well, can't buy anything of relevance just to get his Corrupting Potion all filled up again. He goes for the recall. Definitely going to be a problem for Crazy, and we already mentioned gold generation is down for the Gangplank with no support items. Wait and see if King can just run away with the lane because they have Ezreal, they have Camille. They definitely have the early game scaling in both top lane and bot lane.
Keen very smartly, he already had the wave pushing towards him, so he just slow pushes it back, doesn't push it. Taking a lot of damage here, but again, we always see this level 6 Vel'Koz trying to push the enemy mid laner out of the lane, as this happened here, but because he had it frozen, Camille is running away with the CS, but also the experience lead. Hits level 6 first, and Crazy, he gets the help from Trick, but just wasting Trick's time, no ganks is gonna come in.
And that's the flow-on effect, Valdez. When you see such a big wave being frozen by the enemy top laner, who knows that your flash and teleport is down, you're deathly afraid of a turret dive just as the minion wave crashes, and basically your laning phase being over. There's almost no way to come back from losing 2-3 waves of minions under the turret and dying again. So he has to have his jungler come up. Predictably, a jungler gets nothing, but the jungler's time also being wasted in addition to the flash is the gain that Afreeca got from the smart gank timing from Mowgli.
Ignar being a bit of a bully in the lane here, trying to stop the back, and does so successfully onto Kramer, so nicely done there. Also freezes the wave, keeps all that CS available for Ghosts. Just really curious if Crazy is ever going to regain stability in this lane. He'll at least be down about 20 CS so far.
Bot lane for now is at least going to be one lane that Afreeca Freecs is going to be a little bit more defensive in. Maybe it changes at level 6 onto the Rakan. In the mid lane, looking at Vel'Koz, and because it's the LCK, we never see Scorch. It's always Gathering Storm. Ultimate Hat is interesting, though, onto the Vel'Koz.
Yeah. Takes that, too. Does not take the stopwatch, so doesn't seem to be concerned about getting dive. Maybe no plans about getting a Zhonya's in the future. We've seen a lot of Vel'Koz into Camille. That's definitely a very hard one where maybe you would see the stopwatch being taken, but not going to have that this time.
Again, most of the damage in a team fight, realistically, when you think about how team fights will play out, is going to be Gangplank ultimate. You know, that's honestly the consistent damage that will hit onto the Vel'Koz. It's a bit like Kog'Maw in that he doesn't move that much in a team fight, wants to load up with the life disintegration ray. And he might, because of the ultimate hat, just use the ult for lane harass, you know, a bit Doinby on Victor style, where you use the ult to DPS out the enemy mid laner and push the wave. Because Azir, as he hits level 9, will have some more pushing options. As we mentioned a couple of times, we're on 8.5, so pretty big nerfs to the Azir. Q means the wave clear is a little bit less reliable. 30 damage less on the soldier attack command, the Q, at level number 9. But still has good pushing, still is Azir with oppressive range. Right now we're seeing the roam from the bot lane, and topside Crazy just having no fun.
Struggling to survive. You'll notice that, especially with the Doran shield, definitely helping Keen sustain in lane. Crazy doesn't do any damage with just a couple of crystals. So, very sad moment. Trick goes back up to the top side, and Afreeca take the very free Infernal Drake at 9 minutes into the game. Feeling good about this one so far as Afreeca, for sure.
Level 1 hook shot onto the Gangplank, and still the Jax knows he can do nothing. Mid lane.
Thames might be in a bit of trouble here, but everything missing means that he can easily hop over the wall. And at least he will survive for now.
Yeah, Thames 1-8 Azir is not necessarily a sign of his struggle at Azir mechanics, but more the team hasn't been able to play around the Azir particularly well. But Divi mentioned that kind of needs to be a hard carry performance from Tempt, as specifically Ghost has had a really down season. He hasn't been able to be a carry through the bot side very often. Some decent games recently, but otherwise it's been a pretty poor season from Ghost.
Well, you talked about trying to go for the carry. Misses the scoop here as the flash is used, at least, from Kuro.
That means that Kuro's going to have to be very defensive. On the Vel'Koz already, just wants to push and back. Able to be made accountable by Tempt, which is pretty good for them. And get them a bit of lane control that they definitely don't have in topside.
Trying to stop the back here. Tushin looks like he's in a ton of trouble here, but it's just going to hop away and makes it look easy, actually. Had to burn his flash and ultimate, but ultimately he gets out.
But if you pause that clip after the death sentence hit and ask people, does the Rakan die or not? I think your first thought is going to be definitely yes. So some great problem solving by Rakan to get away. Even didn't have the oppressive battle dance range that is usually there because there's no Rakan. And Xayah synergy on the side of Afreeca. Tucson gets out, able to push in the wave. Only a flash expended is pretty happy news given that Ignar gave up 2 summoners himself.
Yeah, Tucson just styling in ways you thought he couldn't style, as he just makes the support role look like so much fun. Just gonna push that one in and head back home. Unfortunately, no synergy in the back timing between Ezreal and Rakan. They don't have their thing going on just yet. Maybe in the future, we'll see.
They just don't have the chemistry of Xayah and Rakan. You can ship who you want to ship, Valdez, but you can't deny chemistry like the lovers bot lane, Xayah and Rakan.
It's quite literally built into the game, so gotta hand it to them. Their relationship in the game is working out quite well.
Keen jumps to top lane. He has a comically large CS lead, and remember, it means more than on previous patches. Keen just randomly used Tiamat walking to lane. That was just showing how strong a player he is.
He's literally
like, I
just
don't need
BMing
this.
Crazy in the lane, because why not?
But yeah, the gold generation going to be lower on the Gangplank than previous patches with no GP10.
Seems like BBQ is aware that this is happening. Ignar also coming on over.
It is fun to see Afreeca being ahead of the play, though. They knew that the mid lane gank was predictable, and that's why they were there. Speaking of being ahead of the play.
Oh boy, there's a lantern, but can you take it? The answer's gonna be yes in the end. The Ignite is ticking, and one more will do it, but no, the Ezreal gets so close. Mowgli trying to jump on in too. He's not gonna bite the bait in the end, and the magical escape happens.
The great escape coming through from Trick on the Jax will not die for first blood. Very, very happy that Ghost was there to face tank the first part of the Ezreal ultimate and give him the quick information to juke up. So we've seen 2 great escapes already in this particular game. Watching the replay, instant layering of CC. After the kidnap, you would have thought no way out, but Flash, a late ignite, so it seemed like he would go down. 1 tick away, probably about 20 HP, and then a casual juke up. Feels pretty good about that one, this Trick.
In solo queue, he dies 100%. Nobody ever dodges the Ezreal.
No,
ultimate.
never.
I've never seen it before. But Trick seems like he's on his game. And still no first blood. We've seen 2 or 3 moments where it could have happened, but not just yet.
But of course the fans know we've been talking about the game the entire time. So it's been excitement, but sadly not kills. We're still war-hardened from patch 8.1, where there really wasn't much to talk about, but at least 8.4 onwards has been, in general, more action.
Trying to bait that all in was crazy, but seemed a little bit too suspicious from Keen. That's something you'll see from the tippy top, the best of the best. They'll always have that game sense of, well, this guy is too good, he shouldn't be maneuvering in this way.
I believe the ward they have that Rakan is now further placing on the Raptors gives a lot of information about the pathing. If Raptors are open, you know that the Jax is ganking, as Jax has a very easy time throwing the Raptors with his Counter-Strike. So, for now at least, smart top laner sense. And it's just something about Keen. You know, we spoke about Keen, we always say, well, the feeling of Marin leaving hasn't been felt. What we should compliment with Keen is the reason why he was so highly prized by teams. You know, a lot of SKT fans wanting him to join SKT. Afreeca eventually picking him up by being on Ever 8 winners was his carry games. It was him crushing lanes in a carry matchup. So for him to have great top laner sense and so often this season be on the defensive side of the matchup and not die, there's been no games where he's really been found out for his game sense, is a big compliment because we already knew he was a carry. We didn't know that he could be a smart role player as well.
Yeah, he's having a very fun lane so far, up about 40 CS. Tucson waiting in the bush here, trying to catch them being greedy. Might be baited in here by Mowgli, looking for Ghost. The stretch and strikes is gonna land, and no kidnap just yet as he flashes away. He's gonna get tricked, but locked down now is Mowgli running into the box.
Mid lane is coming down as well, but probably gonna be called away.
Yeah, just trading back and forth. It was a 3-on-3 from the get-go.
So we consider where the game is at, and I think both teams are gonna be pretty comfortable. You know, BBQ very, very close to going down in a couple of scenarios, and top lane is behind. Not to a massive degree. Always sliding scales with the gangplank. The bot lane, the Ezreal still building towards 2 items. It will be the cheap Iceborne Gauntlet build rather than the Trinity Force as well. So Afreeca very much about the rotations when they get 2 items on Kramer. We just saw a series defined by that in Katie Rolster's series against MVP earlier tonight. No Drakes taken. Only the Infernal so far for Afreeca, but it seems like BBQ have the control on Mountain, at least to start it.
It doesn't look like that control ward quite gets close enough, and because the Ezreal just backed and Tucson was going for a roam, means that Mountain Drake should head over to the side of BBQ, and there it is.
Will be a second Infernal spawning afterwards, so going to be great priority there for the side of Afreeca. Afreeca pushing in the top side. They got a lot of damage onto the Gangplank turret, but it is an exercise in frustration actually finishing the turret kill solo. So just throw in some barrels or an ultimate, depending on how many people you're sending. Love to see the gold shown, just to understand, without the bandit passive, without as much gold generation, where the Gangplank is at here. My first thought is that it's going to be about a 200 to 300 gold lead for Keen, but not 100% sure.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too wide. And I think it should be very, very close, but without the Bandit, does make sense what you said. I feel like this has been one of the most exciting games that has gone on without a first blood for a very long time. We've had a couple that went an insanely long amount of time. I think it was one where it was like 36 minutes.
We had the 39-minute first blood
Yeah.
in Jin Air versus Kingzone.
That one.
That one was definitely a thinker. That game was not very exciting in the early game, and we're not one for lying to our fans here in the LCK. If it's a boring game, we talk about Pokemon and all sorts of other things. This game so far has been smart. It's been a lot of action, and we can see another gank.
There's the flash on in, and the Lantern. Does he get it this time? He
might.
does get the Feather Storm, but goes for the auto instead of clicking it. First blood, perfect ward. Is going to deny that one. Nicely done and executed by Afreeca.
And teams getting more and more used to playing against Thresh, and more control wards onto the Lantern, making it basically impossible to click. I remember that previously full zoom would allow it and might still be in the game, but such a foreign mechanic to most people that we don't see it very often. First blood was delayed, but was registered at 18 minutes. Now Mowgli on the counter jungle as well.
Yeah. Even if it is still, if you're still able to do that, it's very hard to do it, especially when you're a very low Xayah and you're going up against this much damage. Let's take another look how this happens.
Last thing you're expecting is to like have to avoid abilities and then mouse wheel in order to press something.
You got to be doing it right here.
The control ward means that Ghost goes to the death chamber. An advantage around the bot lane is so important because 2 items are now completed onto Kramer as well. We're seeing topside where Crazy's finally been able to parlay Keen a couple of times.
You get to a point where eventually Ninja Tabi and the Trinity Force will allow you to actually shell back some damage. You'll notice that Keen, it's been a while since he was able to go back. I think the last time was about 50, 60 CS ago, so down a couple items here.
Imagine he's going to build fully for lane with Ravenous Hydra next to the Trinity Force. Baiting at the moment is Crazy, but Summoner's up on Keen. Difficult to make this gank work, and also a turret dive would be ill-advised. We've had one of those already today, Valdez.
No, I don't want to see another one like that. That was one for the record books in a bad way. Crazy still trying to beat, misses the second barrel there, and actually it is going to be a 2-on-2, but Crazy in a lot of trouble. Trick actually waiting there, and Keen will flash away. The stopwatch doing a lot of work to deny that Hextech ultimatum, and in the end, both members will just back off.
Both had to use more. You'd say Flash was the biggest differentiator there, as Keen was able to completely dodge the stun from Trick and disengage any return damage. Here's the good news story, though. Kramer's hit those 2 items. He has epic lane control, and it seems like Ghost is giving up this turret and bot side. Fricker want to rotate the Ezreal to the mid lane, open up some options in terms of comp. There's no defense on the top side as Jax has been there, so it will be first turret blood to the Afreeca Freecs.
See if they split the gold. The answer will be no. I thought Tucson in his own right is a bit of a carry for Afreeca, so I thought, wait, maybe why not? But does make sense to put all that gold onto your AD carry Ezreal.
Laning phase was ended early. It seems like Ghost is roaming topside. Gonna get that information. Keen will know about it now. And the damage dealt. The Jax numbers, well, a little bit higher than Jax in other games for this part of the game, so it's more than 600, so you're happy about that.
Yeah. The very famous game was also above 30 minutes. Don't know the exact amount of time, but it was something obscene.
It could be lower, is what we know about Jax numbers.
Well, Kuro is a guy we haven't really mentioned too much. He's been farming up a storm. I guess Tempt has been doing exactly the same at the exact same amount of CS for both of them. So very, 8.4 has brought some action in, but a little bit less in the mid lane, I suppose.
Mowgli backing away. Will eventually be able to leap out. Do notice that he has 2965 health with the Warmogs. That does not arm the Warmogs passive yet. The threshold was increased to 3,000, and the multiplier on Cinderhulk will both nerf this patch.
Oh boy, kind of just running it into it here is Trick. He will be forced to burn his flash to get away from that one.
Seems like it's going to be a tank Jax as well, and I believe Jax has a lower health pool. Not 100% clear on that, but going to be a while. Usually it is going to be the second health item you build after Cinderhulk and Warmogs to actually arm the all-important Warmogs passive, which has been honestly one of the most purchased items in LCK Spring 2018.
Certainly the 3,000 number was very specific because you play a bunch of tank junglers and you'll notice that you just fall short on every single one of them, and you just need one more health item. You can't just build straight into resistances right after, so I think it's a good nerf overall.
And that was the appeal I made on stream, was the problem is Cinderhulk plus Warmogs giving you instantly the Warmogs passive. It's Trick.
Okay, hopping in here. He's got his Counter-Strike up. Not much they can do, but a nice job by Mowgli to hop on in and get the smite, so they get double Infernal. Getting low, though. It's going to be up to Kuro to do that damage, and Trick gets a little bit too low. Kramer's not even there. Takes out the top turret as well.
That's why we saw the big commitment, because they knew the bot lane couldn't be there, and it'll be at worst a 4v3. They get nothing from it. Kramer does get the top lane out of turret that he'd rotated for earlier, so awkward stuff for BBQ. They can't even steal away the Drake, let alone pick up the exit kills.
Well, you've got a carry on the top side in Camille. You have this Ezreal that would love to have just even more damage at this point in the game, and of course, Velikaz, who does just straight up damage. And double Infernal is going to make all those 3 picks pretty insane. Very impressive, so very happy with the Drakes so far, or Afreeca.
And when you have Camille Zac, the game probably will not be about how do we get to the Velikaz. It'll probably be how do we peel away the Camille Zac, and that means Velikaz is opening up, firing his ultimate, and doing amazing damage from the backline. It's gone for the Leandries in this game. I'm actually thinking as time goes on, we'll see more people sit on just the Haunting Guys, because Haunting Guys in this really interesting spot where before you bought Haunting Guys and you felt really good about it in the early game because flat Magic Pen was an early game stat, and then as the game went on, it felt worse because Magic was just rebuilt. I actually think that Haunting Guy's passive, the 10% damage amp, is the reverse, and it's now more powerful as the game goes on when you have your Void stuff and other things, because a 10% damage amp at the end of the game, when there's more resistant things in the game, is actually much more powerful then. So I think Haunting Guys' passive is honestly really powerful. The Leandris has specific synergy on the Velikaz is a face check.
Someone had to face check. It was going to be Mowgli, but look at the damage coming out from Ezreal Velikaz. If you stand in a line like that, you better pray to God that you're going to survive. And, well, a bunch of them do take a ton of damage. Trick goes down, and immediately Afreeca are running onto the Baron.
And he spotted on this, and there's been no recalls from a BBQ. They're still here. So Afreeca, even despite having double Infernal, do not want to chance the arm, or at least the damage coming through from Azir and Gangplank, and they make the much more disciplined way to at first back away.
Look at Keen. We got the zoom out here. Thank you, Spo TV. He's going to be looking for that back line. Look at how low Ghost is. Looking for it, but actually going for Temp to the mid lane, but then he goes on to Ghost afterwards, and the damage is coming back here. Crazy thinking about hopping in. Had the death sentence landed, maybe another kill goes BBQ's way, but Afreeca playing with fire. They do go 1 for 1.
Yeah, 1 for 1, and it aborts Baron. So a success to BBQ, you'd say, through all of that. It was definitely the fight that lined up for the Velikaz, but not quite the damage to delete everyone, and no further damage from Camille was in a great spot for the flank. Didn't get as much value in the first round, so they back away. No harm, no foul. BBQ going to get control onto the Drake spawn. Another Cloud awkwardly for them, not an Infernal. We watched the replay, and this was very much about Camille getting onto Tempt and killing the Azir. Emperor's Divide still up. They use everything onto Ghost to get him, but the return damage from Crazy, who flashed in to try to pick up the kill, was there as well.
Yeah, certainly the Gangplank will be coming along eventually, sitting at 2.5 items, picking up the Sterix, also the Warhammer, so it's always very nice to watch him farming in the meanwhile as he does get up there. And so no Baron just yet, which means that Afreeca need to wait just a little bit here. They're up 3,000 gold so far, but they're going to have to get another pick here. They can't just rush it down onto the Baron just yet.
It means the game is still tense, even though Afreeca are at the position of power on their comp. They have 3 items onto the Ezreal, feeling good about the AP stacking onto Kuro. They have map control as well, but actually cementing the Baron, if they're going to be respectful to BBQ, is going to be tricky. It's a multi-step process that the Camille flank was supposed to answer. They back away. Kramer's going for his now trademark build and building into the Duskblade of Drakthar as the 4th item on Ezreal. Waiting to see how Afreeca problem solve this one. They were looking for the flank from Keen, but they have to pull away.
they're just going to bait here. Someone will eventually have to check with all the vision and control wards they have lined up. Tucson in the front line, taking out as many of the control wards as possible, or at least trying to.
See the power of having the outer mid lane turret up at 27 minutes. Makes it very, very difficult for either Keen or Tucson to find the flank. But now the game stalls out.
Looking for the engage here are the couple of them. Emperor's Divide is not going to save Tempt. There it is, the disintegration ray underneath, and a huge knockup from Tucson to follow up. There he is. That's the support you know and love, and well, that's going to be a nice fight for Afreeca, even if they do lose Tucson.
Keen was a monster in that fight. He used the Hextech ultimatum to dodge the Emperor's Divide casually to allow that fight to happen. If he didn't do that, he would have been knocked out of it, and the kill would not have been registered onto Tempt. Tucson's follow-up, predictably, fantastic. They turn onto the Baron, but notice they have not leashed it yet. They're using the Essence Fuck just to bait in BBQ.
Oh boy, Ignar. No hope for him. The question is who's next? Crazy going all in onto Kramer. Shouldn't work out in the end, and now he's just gonna go down as well. Another double kill. Keen thinking about an extra kill for himself. Only 1-0-1, wants to have more on the scoreboard, but in the end of it all, they get 2 more kills. It looks like the Baron is coming up next.
And it was so cute, the Essence Flux used just to make it seem like the Baron had been started. Really nicely done by Afreeca. They get the Baron easily on the back end as well. These are little intangibles that allow Afreeca to be one of the best teams we have in Korea. We're going to watch the replay. Watch Keen, who Hextech ultimatums over to be untargetable over the Emperor's Divide. Beautiful stuff from him. And then Tucson, he does it again. He always gets in there.
Perfect
and that
timing.
knock-up guaranteed the Baron and the kills for the side of Afreeca Freecs.
The timing on that was right after the Feather Storm ended, and that's what allowed them to get the Xayah. He waited and waited. He could have gone earlier, only gotten 2, and if that were the case, he might have only gotten 1 kill on the back of it, but I mean, these guys just look so powerful. It's insane. From the draft to the game, I know they're playing against BBQ, but Afreeca certainly making a big case to be number 2 in the minds of everybody here in Korea.
And I think, honestly, they deserve to be there. KT have been wayward in the way that KT always is, and Afreeca have been almost a picture of consistency. They're right up there. And they still do have those Afreeca moments where they lose a game and you're like, why did this happen? How did this happen? But much more rarely than KT Rolster does. And it's been a really impressive spring season from them. The sort of lineup where your first thought would have been they could definitely get there by summer. They got there way earlier than expected. And that's why so many people are excited about Afreeca looking forward, not just focused on the spring season.
At the end of all the commotion, looks like the Gangplank is on top in terms of damage. As it happens, sometimes his barrels do the damage, but not enough damage in terms of kills or objectives, and the rest of his team is far behind.
His ult also does a lot of damage as well. I'd love to see the split there as Keen's going to be clapped on by 3. He still has his flash, of course.
Does make it over there with the flash, so does escape. Looks like the hook shot may have been interrupted in the end, but either way, I mean, it's so many members trying to get on top of him, and the rest of Afreeca are like, okay, if you want to give us a free inhibitor with no, push against us and our Baron push, we'll go right ahead and take that.
Have good wave clear, but thought the better move was to look for a pick and then back away. Wasted time, like you mentioned, and now they look very, very silly. Didn't even bother to use Crazy's ultimate to try to slow down the push. Knew there was no way they'd been able to do that. Now Afreeca Freecs find themselves in almost a 10,000 goal lead, over 9,000 at 31 minutes. They've got 2 Infernals as well, and Kuro patrolling, looking for deletion, which he definitely is level 18 on the Vel'Koz.
There it is, just the 2 ultimates out of Vel'Koz and Ezreal, and immediately Ghost and Ignar are pushed out of the fight. And so just another easy take onto the turret. Does help that they're ahead 10,000 gold, but certainly the combination of these 2 champions in tandem with the push of Baron is a beauty to see.
Showing new stuff, having Mowgli and Spirit both look impressive. This is just the standard of Afreeca. This is the new Afreeca Freecs that make every team, including Kingzone, a bit worried, because beating this team on a day when they're playing this good seems very, very difficult, Valdez.
You can see they're taking their match up against BBQ very seriously too. No shenanigans, at least in game number 1. We'll see if they pick something random in game 2, maybe another Xinjiao game, who knows. But here's the last stand, trying to get out to Kuro. That's actually a lot of damage, but instant deletion onto the Azir. See you later. They at least get Tucson once again. Seems to be a constant in a lot of these fights. But Tucson will very thankfully trade his life for a carries.
It's the right move by Temp, though. They're already down 2 inhibitors. You have to try and make something happen or you'll just lose anyway. Got Kuro, but couldn't kill him. And now they have to deal with super minions in 2 lanes. Mowgli trying to buy time. 3rd inhibitor turret goes down. Afreeca will pull back. They can go back and purchase. They feel great about the scenario they're in. For BBQ, the dregs are their base. The Nexus turrets are no more. I'm sure they're already strategizing for game number 2.
Well, it's been a while since they've bought, so we can all go back and look at all the items they pick up. Scimitar there for the Ezreal is 5-0-3. Guardian Angel straight off the bat for Keen. Lots of fun items here.
And we're getting to bonkers levels of AP onto Kuro as well. Death cap into most of a Banshee Veil. Complete. And you see the replay here. It's the right move. It looks comical because they're behind in gold. Tempt gets the all-important hit onto Kuro. He hasn't previously and gets big damage onto Kramer as well. If you consider what he did alone, he chunked out to below 50% HP. Both carries of Afreeca. Unfortunately, there isn't the damage behind him or the dive from a champion like Jax, who increasingly is looking irrelevant in the LCK and recent picks. Game is too far behind for those plays to work, but if you don't do that, you lose your 3rd inhibitor and lose anyway. So,
yep.
Afreeca Freecs back away. They get their purchases. They are now massively far ahead, over 12,000 gold. And there's the banner of command. This should be the winning push from Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, should be. It's refreshing to see the play out of BBQ, just a last stand. We see so many teams wait until they're down Nexus turrets to try to make the last stand. And at that point, you might even have your Nexus focused down, so it's good. We do have the Sun turret here, making another appearance. Ghost eating the poke from the Vel'Koz. Always not a lot of fun, but the eventual push will come in the bottom lane as Keen just makes his presence known in the mid lane here.
Yeah, we know there's still 1 minute and 2 minutes respectively on the other inhibitors, so no rush. Here's another attempt to the all-in.
They're gonna get the stun here on Kuro, who does go down in the end. Trick stays alive. And now they're trying to go on in here. Trick getting low, but Keen is just ignoring them. Comes in the back, cleans up an easy kill, says thank you very much. Ghost almost goes down to Kramer as well. Even though it was looking kind of good for BBQ, they're just too far behind.
Yeah, they have a 3rd carry. His name is Keen. He is massively far ahead on this Camille. Doesn't even matter that Kuro gets no damage out in the fight. Not looking like an MVP performance for him. I'm sure he's very devastated about that. But it certainly looked like a game victory. The side of the Afreeca Freecs are going to back off. Why not an Elder Dragon just off spawn to add to their double Infernal? Add another 8% if you don't mind.
Not half bad. Of course, pretty strong Elder here. Just taking a little bit longer than expected. They certainly have a decent amount of all-in potential, BBQ.
I see the replay, and they remember that summoners are down on Kuro, are able to kill him early. And if they don't have the Camille there, which remember, Camille's actually at the first Nexus turret at the start of this, then it's the perfect play. But Kramer has more damage than expected because he's ahead, and Camille just comes in and does a casual 1,000 damage on the secondary Q every time she has that off cooldown, which is a lot. Turn onto the Baron, stack up the advantages, and close the games. It's not quite the early game finishes of KT, but it's just as deadly as what we saw in series number 1.
It almost looks scarier at this point. Just taking fight after fight now, 15,000 gold ahead. Keen with this TP up. Looks like they'll make a push towards the mid lane and perhaps have Keen push another one. I like the plays that BBQ's trying to do. They got close in that last one onto Kuro, but now he's got a Banshee Veil, so it's going to be a lot harder to all in onto him. And a lot of summoners down also on BBQ from the last time. So let's see what they can do in terms of holding this off.
Whoa! I didn't see that angle before.
I was like, did I miss something? What happened, Papa?
We flattened the angle.
I know.
We're playing almost 2-dimensional League of Legends. We're known for 4D over here.
I saw them messing around with that. It's good to see it in action. Here's the engage. Observer almost misses that one as the Azir disappears and goes down to 1-9. As the Nexus is gonna crash, that will be game number 1 going down in the end of it all. 37 minutes. Afreeca looks stunning in their game against BBQ.
It almost looks casual, Valdez, and casually, they are the second best team in the LCK, dispatching a BBQ team that took a game off KT, that took 2 games off SKT, and not really even breaking into a sweat. Love what they did in the first round. We noticed that the Zac was a potential first pick for BBQ. They overlooked it for the Xayah. They locked down the Rakan to take away Xayah Rakan, and they got the power pick Zac that Mowgli has had some great games on. They look almost flawless doing it. There are no mistakes here from Afreeca Freecs, just victories, and they are 1 game away from guaranteeing themselves second and being a single best of 5 away from a date in Busan in the grand final of the LCK.
Well, certainly after the last time we saw KT get shreked by Kingzone in their match over in OGN, I would definitely be a fan of seeing Afreeca go up against Kingzone and try their luck in that matchup, see if they can actually do a bit better than their loss the last time. But BBQ certainly looking a little bit stunned. They're gonna have to go back into the room and decide what exactly are we gonna do against what seems like a very clean draft and play from Afreeca.
They just don't have the ability to match Afreeca in every position of the game. Great stuff from Afreeca.
Yeah, so guys, we're gonna take another quick break, about 11 minutes before we go over to game number 2.
저희 팀의 기상 시간이랑 이제 폭력성을 한번 알아보겠습니다.
잘 만들었어.
네, 연습이 곧 있어서 얼른 깨야 되는 관계로 안준현 선수만 요대중으로 일어난 걸로 하도록 하겠습니다.
네, 이게 MVP 팀이 이제 밥 먹으러 갑니다. 연습이 끝나고.
나만 찍어.
너가 제일 귀엽잖아. 그러면 밥 먹으러 가자. 저희는 매일 밥 먹으러 갈 때 이거 건모의 얼굴 한번 보고 갑니다.
사랑해요.
오늘 메뉴가 뭐일 것 같으세요?
오늘 메뉴요?
네,
저는 압니다.
어떤 것 같으세요?
제육볶음에 김치찌개 나옵니다.
저는 만두 나올 것 같거든요. 오늘 메뉴 뭐 나올 것 같으세요?
밥, 반찬.
이 날씨 보세요, 여러분들. 어떻게 봐? 이 날씨 봐. 아니, 카메라가 화질이 좋다니까?
날씨가 뭐야?
너 모공까지 다 나와.
아이.
저희가 식당을 배구 숙소 겸으로 쓰고 있기 때문에 다른 선수분들이 계실 수도 있어요. 빨리 문 열어.
촬영할 바라지.
자, 저희들의 식상입니다. 이렇게 맛있는 걸 먹는데 살이 안 찔 수가 없어. 자, 이거 맛이 없을 수가 없어, 이거. 저는 밥 조금. 다이어트를 해야 되기 때문에 밥을 조금. 이거 반 덜어줄래?
덜어달라고?
덜어줘. 나 살 빼야 돼. 오늘은 맛있는 제육볶음.
내가 맞췄지. 제육볶음.
자, 이제 식사 시간 이후에 돌아오도록 하겠습니다. 저희의 옷걸이. 옷이 아주 가득하고요. 그리고 여기도 옷걸이. 여기 옷걸이 하나 더 있고, 여기도 옷걸이. 여기는 저희들의 옷가지로 올려놓은 곳이고요. 여기 온갖 약품들이 다 있고요. 여기는 저희가 인형 뽑기로 뽑은 인형들이 여기 한가득 있습니다. 저희는 이제 가정집에서 연습실이랑 다 붙어있기 때문에 이게 숙소도 저희는 꾸며내는 분위기를 좋아하지 않기 때문에 그냥 일어났을 때 그 상태로 그대로 찍었습니다. 여기는 이제 저희 보듀오 마하와 맥스의 잠자는 곳입니다. 여기 제가 자는 곳에 여기 병아리 하나 있고요. 여기는 이제 연습생 서포 친구와 이제 파일럿 선수가 연습하는 자리고요. 여기는 코치 형님 자리, 여기는 마하가 연습 중이고.
안녕하세요.
여기에 꼬부기가 있네. 꼬부가 니 왜 여기 있냐?
왜 내 자리에 있어 얘?
깜짝 놀랐네. 아주.
얘 왜 내 자리에 있어?
꼬부가. 저를 굉장히 좋아해. 꼬부가? 응, 나 좋아하지.
확실해? 오늘 날씨 좋은데. 꼬부기 산책을 해볼까? 얘가 잘 갈까요? 꼬부기 산책 가기 전
배고프거든요.
그는 배가 고픕니다. 컹스. 꼬부기의 자유. 산책 잘 다니는데. 잠시만. 꼬부가.
안녕하세요. 일레 카메라맨 마하입니다. 저희가 장을 보러 갑니다. 저희가 장을 봐야 돼요. 이러면 너무 못생기게 나올 것 같은데? 왜냐면 저희는 잘생기게 인터뷰를 했기 때문에 잘생긴 모습만 보여주도록.
보통은 와랑 저 둘이서 장 보러 갑니다.
지금 이제 빨래를 할 부품들이 부족해요. 일단은 섬유유연제를 사야 되고, 그리고 이제 뭐 물티슈 같은 것도 좀 부족하고, 세제도 사야 될 수도 있고, 뭐 치약 이런 것도 좀 필요하지 않을까? 이거 사야지.
고기, 닭다리.
자, 다이어트는 이렇게 하는 거예요. 원래 저녁은 원래는 숙소에서 먹는데, 저는 거기서는 이제 탄수화물을 많이 먹게 되잖아요. 숙소 밥은. 저는 이것만 먹고 살을 듭니다.
맨날 칼로리 계산하고 있다는 게 사실입니까?
저는 그런 행동을 하지 않습니다.
그래서 하루에 먹는 평균 칼로리가 몇이죠?
1600칼로리? 꽤 많이 먹는 편이에요, 요즘은.
다이어트 할 당시에는 몇 칼로리 있었나요, 하루에?
다이어트 한참 할 때는 하루에 1000칼로리 이하로 먹었던 걸로 기억을 해요. 거의 안 먹으면서 있으니까. 근데 그렇게 하면 별로 몸에 좋진 않아요. 건강하게 먹고 건강하게 운동하셔야 됩니다. 자, 저희는 장을 다 보고 아까 돌아왔던 3층으로 다시 돌아왔어요. 이만큼이나 됐습니다. 엄청 많아요.
거의 한 달에서 2달간.
장을 안 봐도 됩니다. 안녕.